All right, welcome back to the Courage to Teach Differently. We are in the middle of our session here connected to play and student engagement. And so today I decided to include leadership in this discussion because leadership is something that develops through practice. And when children are playing or students are playing, they are practicing some of those leadership skills. And we're going to talk about that today. We're exploring how leadership grows naturally in students through play. In a Finnish-inspired classroom, leadership isn't something students wait to receive. Teachers aren't assigning roles and leadership at Finnish schools. It's something they practice every day through collaboration, curiosity, and joy, and student agency. So in Finnish schools, students decide what roles they want to take in the classroom. So join me in our adventure today as we discuss leadership in students, how play grows confidence, collaboration, and voice. So leadership appears in unexpected places. We really can't force leadership skills on students. Let me share an example with you. A few weeks ago, I was visiting a classroom where students were playing a math game they had invented themselves. One student happened to be one of the more quiet students in the class, had taken the role of leadership. She was explaining the rules, helping others take turns, and solving small conflicts with calm confidence. That moment kind of stayed with me because this wasn't just play anymore. It was leadership in its purest form, right? It was just naturally an outcropping of the growth from them working in a small group collaboratively to create this math game to have a better understanding of the concept they were learning. Leadership doesn't always look like standing at the front or giving orders. Sometimes it looks like helping a friend or creating a new way to play. In Finnish classrooms, that's exactly where leadership begins, through play, collaboration, and trust. So in all my videos, I want my audience to be a part of this process. And so before we go deeper, I want to hear from you. So go ahead, share some comments. Where have you seen leadership appear naturally in your classroom? Maybe a student took a lead in a game or quietly helped peers without being asked. Just pause for a moment, jot down a few notes in the comments section below, and join the global conversation about leadership and play. In Finland, play is more than fun. It's considered a mirror of society, a place where children practice collaboration, empathy, and responsibility, right? So children at a very young age learn through observation. Even before they can speak, they're observing and learning about their surroundings. And so even in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, they're still watching the world around them and making sense of it. And so when they're in play, they're playing out what they've seen their adults around them doing. During play, students negotiate, they problem solve, and make decisions together. The same skills adults use in leadership, right? Like I said, they're playing out what they've seen. Kenyon's competency-based curriculum echoes this idea by focusing on collaboration, communication, and self-regulation as essential learning outcomes. This comes from the KICD in 2017. When students lead and play, they learn to balance freedom with responsibility. They guide others without controlling them. And that is the beginning of true leadership, right? When they have conflict with their peers because they don't want to share or because they don't want to play the way that one is playing, they have to work it out. And they begin to create strategies. They use critical thinking to develop their understanding of what leadership looks like. So what is some of the research behind this idea, the science of joy and leadership? Neuroscience confirms that Finnish educators have practiced for decades. Joy and choice activate the brain's prefrontal cortex. This is the center for decision-making and empathy. My resources for this scientific information is at the end of our presentation today. When leaders feel safe, curious, and connected, their executive functions grow stronger. Mary Helen, in her article, Immordino-Yang, reminds us that emotion and cognition are inseparable. You cannot take one without the other when it comes to learning. When we design classrooms that invite joy and autonomy, we aren't losing rigor, right? We're not making it less academic. We're building leadership through engagement. These values, these core concepts, 21st century skills that this growing generation is going to need to have to succeed in their new future that we don't even understand what will look like because it's moving and changing so quickly. So let's pause for just a moment again. I just want to ask a quick question. What's one way your students already show leadership during play? Do they set the rules? Do they organize the materials or help classmates stay focused? Go ahead and drop an example in the comments below so that we can begin to see how leadership and play works globally, because every classroom is different, every teacher is different. And so it helps us to see those examples of what other teachers have tried, what they've seen in their students, so that we can all learn from each other. All right. So leadership evolves with age. Let's talk a little bit about what leadership looks like through play as a child or a student moves from kindergarten all the way through grade 12. It never disappears. Leadership is always there. Play should always be there. Even in 12th grade, there should be play through learning through play, rather. So let's just look at what that kind of feels like in a classroom. So in early primary, that'd be grades K through 2, it might look like students being the story starters, managing materials, or helping a group take turns, line leader, choosing an activity, starting a conversation, showing empathy, that kind of thing. In upper primary, we have grades 3 to 5. So here, students will lead short games, facilitate reflection circles, or design group challenges. At this age, escape rooms, testing their classmates, seeing if they know as much as they do themselves. Those are very common behaviors at this age. So if we embrace them and allow them to have those challenges in a guided way so that they are using those challenges to refocus on the concepts that are being taught, then it benefits everybody. In secondary, which is grades 6 to 12, leadership takes on new forms like debates, designing projects or leading projects, peer mentorships, when there's a conflict, right? Being a part of the solution, those kinds of things. As the famous Finnish educator Pasi Sahlberg says, trust before testing is what gives learners the courage to lead. So how does this translate? How do we, what kind of strategies does Rekla have for helping to create the conditions where students' leadership skills naturally flourish in the classroom? So I've shared with you 5 today, and there's lots more, but I just chose these 5 because I thought they would be easy to implement and a great place to start. So a challenge creator is what we were just talking about. Students design learning challenges for their peers, developing ownership and creative problem solving while building confidence in their ability to lead. It also helps with assessment, because if you can teach something that you've learned, then you know it by heart. Second is reflection circles, leading reflection circles. So regular peer-led discussions where students share insights, celebrate successes, and collaboratively solve classroom challenges, building communication skills. Third, we have a play planner board. This is a visible space where students propose, plan, organize play-based learning activities, giving them agency over their learning environment. This does take a little bit of pre-planning on the teacher's part. So you would want to do one of these play planning boards the week before or 2 weeks before, to allow the students an opportunity to participate in the planning of the lessons that will be upcoming. Then we have rotating team roles, which allows students to choose roles like facilitator or presenter, timekeeper, materials manager, an encourager, ensuring that all voices have are important. And then our last one is the community builder. It encourages students to create a 2-minute game or a routine that brings the class together. Students will identify and solve real classroom needs, right? This is where it really matters, where you're, as a teacher, you're stepping in and allowing the students to really impact their environment right where they are. And then as that becomes more comfortable, then you can expand that environment to other classes, to the whole school, and then to outside to the community. So it's anything from what a classroom needs. Maybe it's intervention, maybe it's debates, maybe it's negotiating behavior issues, to welcoming new students, to improve learning spaces, to developing empathy and social responsibilities. So when they do that, play is a preparation for life, right? So that's what they're doing, is they're getting ready for life. That's why it really matters. When students lead through play, they stop waiting for instructions. They're no longer passive learners. They no longer come to class every day, sit at their desk, and just wait for the teacher to impart some kind of knowledge onto them. They've decided to take ownership of that, and they see themselves as capable, creative, and important. This also connects very much with behavior, because when a student feels important and they have ownership of their environment, those behaviors will definitely diminish. In Finnish schools, teachers often say, we don't teach leadership, we trust children into it, right? The trust is the soil where confidence grows. This is found in the Finnish National Agency for Education. Through playful leadership, students learn to listen, they include others, and they persevere when things get hard. They learn to negotiate, they learn to debate and stand up for themselves when they don't get their way. Those aren't side effects of learning. They are the learning. They're the 21st century skills that we need to reinforce and embed in our students so that they can face what's ahead. So just as a final reflection for today, I'd love to make this video a global reflection circle. So what's one idea from today that you'll try in your classroom? Or maybe you have a question. What is one question you'd like us to explore next? Rekla is an international global teacher and leadership resource. And so our conversations need to meet you where you're at. So share with me your questions, your ideas, and I can create videos, I can create resources to support you in your learning. So just drop me a comment below and I will do that. In fact, I did have one teacher share her comments about preschool learning and how it worked in Finnish education. And so we have started a preschool series on Wednesdays for people who are interested in the preschool series. So it works. I honestly read the comments and I apply what I see to our Rekla learning and want you guys to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So just in closing, I want to just review a little bit about what Rekla reflections really are. We are moving from a traditional school setting where it's teacher-centered, worksheet-oriented, textbook-focused, to a transformative, exceptional, amazing classroom where it's student-centered, hands-on, inquiry-based, phenomenon-based learning. Student leadership doesn't come from titles or authority. A student who is told, you are the line leader today, will not embrace that role if they don't understand it or are not intrinsically motivated to take on that role. That's why it is so important for us to allow the students to make those choices. It grows from trust, opportunity, and play. When we include reflection in that, so if you allow the students to take on these leadership roles, and for example, one of the students really doesn't understand or know how to lead, but went ahead and volunteered, this is where reflection and a self-assessment really step in. Because when you offer those kinds of moments for them to reflect on what they did, whether they're a line leader or they're a materials manager or they're supporting their peers in something, if they reflect and you have given them that opportunity, they will see, oh, I could have done this. Next time I want to try this, right? So it's really important that trust, that opportunity, and that play need to also include reflection. When we let students lead, we're not losing control. We're gaining collaboration, creativity, and calm. That being said, go ahead and subscribe to The Courage to Teach Differently for next week's episode, Peer Reflection and Agency in Action. We will do a deep dive into what it means to include peer reflection and leadership or agency in the classroom. Together, we're moving from traditional to transformative to exceptional, one joyful classroom at a time. Here are the references I mentioned throughout our video today if you want to look more into it. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to add a few comments so that Rekla can support you in your learning journey. Thank you.